Unfortunately, stories of devastation and tragedy are becoming more and more frequent. And as we are tied to our devices, we are getting up-to-the-minute news, and it seems like we're inundated with sad stories. From infancy to adolescence and beyond, we create what's called a schema, which is comprised of all of the experiences that we've had. A schema is a kind of operating system inside of our psyche. It helps us make sense of the world around us. It helps us to understand what's safe and what might be dangerous. And it helps us to know how best to behave in the world in a socially appropriate way. When a child has experienced a trauma or even seen a story about a trauma or tragedy, this new information has no logical place to rest within their schema. It becomes like a pinball that's sort of bouncing around their psyche, not knowing where to rest. The child can try to process this new experience by things that may be unhelpful, like nightmares or flashbacks, or recreating the trauma or tragedy in their play. The psyche will revisit this memory, trying to make sense of it. That's why in children we see nightmares, flashbacks, reenactment in play or drawings, and why a child might ask questions about the event over and over again. The psyche is trying to make sense of this new unsettling experience. This new memory about the trauma or tragedy doesn't know where to rest within this child's schema. Sometimes it will seem like the child is in a perpetual state of agitation, and this can in fact be correct. What we know is the more directly experienced, so children who have experienced tragedy and trauma firsthand will have more serious symptoms of trauma. And we also know that children who have been repeatedly exposed to threat, perhaps violence in their home or community, will also have more serious symptoms of trauma. The brain is wiring itself through childhood. So if a child is continually experiencing bursts of adrenaline or cortisol, that leaves them in an unsettled place, a perpetual state of fight or flight. We want to avoid this. We want children to develop an integrated brain, so all of those new experiences and memories are processed appropriately and find their resting spot within the schema. An integrated brain helps a child to regulate more efficiently and in a more age-appropriate way. Integration allows for better emotional regulation. And throughout childhood, children are developing their schema, which means they're developing their understanding of the world around them. And this can lead them to believe that the world is a safe and positive place, or this can lead them to believe that the world is an unsafe and unpredictable and dangerous place. As the child gets older, a secure and confident child who has a schema that says the world is a positive place will be more likely to take risks. They'll try out for that play or that sports team. They'll try out for a new job. They'll raise their hand in class. However, if a child sees the world as an unpredictable and dangerous place, they might retreat inside of themselves and not stretch themselves and not explore the edges of their comfort zone. This is why it's important to protect children, and especially young children, from unnecessary exposure to terror and tragedy in the news. The wonderful and famous Mr. Rogers said, "When children are exposed to trauma in the news, it's always a good idea to help them look for the helpers, the first responders, the police, the firemen, the emergency room doctors and nurses who help during times of tragedy.